Welcome back to the next step in the character design tutorial. Next we're going to be working on the eyes. We want to do a separate video for this because there's a lot that goes into it. So over on our right side, let's go ahead and add us a new layer. We're going to call this one eyes. Oh, caps lock came on. Now what I usually do when I create the eyes is I do everything on the same layer, but I do separate shapes. So to start off, I usually go over to the draw shape tool and get the circle, and then I'll just go ahead and drag that eye out, and then next I will do that same thing again, but I'll change the color. That way I can create the pupil. So this is kind of how it starts, but in order to make the character blink, what I do is I'll select all of this and kind of move it out the way. And then I will come back through and create the other part of his eye. So I'll start creating the eyelid and stuff outside of this. Now what I also want to do is make sure that auto stroke and auto fill is not on. We don't want that part on. And then I'll go ahead and draw his eyelid, and you could either draw this on two separate layers, like the top eyelid, and you could draw these on two separate pieces, like you could draw the top eyelid and the bottom eyelid, or you can draw them both together. I like to draw them both together. It just makes it a little bit easier for me. So I am going to make a shape that's somewhat like the circle that we did before for the eyes, and then I will do that same thing again on the inside. Now you can do your eyes any way you want. This is just how I do it. This is the easiest way for me, and then I will color that in. Now what I want to do, you know how we used the high edges last time. Let me move this up. We're gonna hide the edges again. So I'm gonna hide the edges of the whole outside of the eye, and then we can go back and select our pupil and this other part and drag it back, and as you see, it'll be under this. Now we just got a little bit of adjusting to do. We want to move all of the points so that the stroke of the white part of the eye isn't showing, and then I want to adjust this part so that it actually looks a little bit better. And then there you go, there's the first eye. Then after that you can just select it all. Then we're gonna hit Control C, Control V, that's copy and paste, or you could just do copy and paste. And now you have both of the character's eyes. I really don't like how this character is looking, I'm not gonna lie. But it's because I'm doing it fast. Since we're doing this tutorial, I don't want to take too much of y'all time. I want y'all to be able to learn this quickly, and with that I'm making a really quick, simple character. Of course, you can take your time and make your character as detailed as you want. You can add more than just these small steps that I'm adding. The reason why I do the eyes like this is so that when I use my smart bones, I can make the character blink and open the eyes up wide. And out of all the different ways that I've tried to do it, this has seemed to be the easiest way. Now the next step we want to do is take all of this and put it in a bone layer. So if we go over here where we usually add a new layer and we go down to bone, I'm going to name that head because this is going to be a folder that holds everything from the character's head in there. We're going to take everything under the bone layer and drag it up into it. If you hold down Shift and click them all, you can select them all, and then we're going to drag that in there. Now everything is in the head layer, and this is where it's going to start getting difficult. This is where we're going to start doing smart bones. We're going to make this character blink. Now if you go up here under bone and hit add bone, I like to do it off to the side. I usually make the head turn bone the biggest, and then everything else I make a little bit smaller. So over here we're just going to click and drag up. Now after we do that, there's a couple different things we got to do. The first thing we want to do is go to the bone strength tool, click that, and we're going to turn this all the way down. We want to make sure that's off when we get ready to do our smart bones, because if you don't, it'll move everything instead of just what you wanted to move. So next we got to name this bone, and make sure when you name the bone and then you name it in the actions, you name it the same exact thing. So with this, we're gonna name it wide blink. You can name it whatever you want to. This is just how I do it. And then we're gonna go up to bone constraints. I like to add angle constraints. That kind of stops the bone from spinning in a full circle. So let's go angle constraints. That usually puts it at a 70-degree angle. It's good enough for me. You could change that if you want to, make it however you want. I like it at the 70-degree angle. Then we're gonna hit close. And there's a couple more options that I enjoy using up here at the top when it comes to the bone. So I'll also change the color of it. Sometimes that just makes it a little bit easier to see. And then I also hit show label so I know which bone does what. So now our next step, we're gonna go up to window and we're gonna hit actions. Now that we got our actions tab open, this is where we're gonna set up our smart bone. So the same way you got the piece of paper with the plus, you got a piece of paper up here that says new action. We're gonna hit new action, and then it says wide blink. I'm gonna leave that the way it is. Now what I like to do is come down to the timeline at the bottom, and I like to move it over to 72. Now when I move it to 72, you don't have to put it at 72. You can put it at 1. You can put it at 48. Shoot, if you want to, you could slide it all the way down and put it wherever. 72 just seems like a good amount of space for me. That's just what I used to put it on 24 frames, but I feel like when I put it on 72, there's more I can do in between. So kind of test it out and see what works for you. Now that we got this on 72, we're gonna go back up here to our bone tools and we're gonna hit transform bone. Now when we hit transform bone, we can move this bone left and right. Since we're doing the wide, we're gonna make his eyes go wide first. We're gonna move it left, boom. And now everything that I edit, I wanna make sure that the wide blink is still selected, the 72 is selected, and if this timeline at the bottom is blue or whatever color you set it for, it's good to go. If it changes red, that means something's not working right. Now that we got this blue, we're gonna go over here to our head tab and we're gonna go down to our eyes. Now we are making the eyes get wider. So we're gonna select all of the points that we need, and then I'm gonna deselect these because I wanna make this part larger first. No, actually, I'm gonna take this and open this up. Make it a little bit easier. And then I'm gonna click each point and move it until his eye is as wide as I would like it to open. And then once you get his eye open the way that you want to, as wide as you want it to go, now make sure you go back to your layers tab and click back to the head bone. Once you click back on the head bone, you can go to your actions tab, and up here under main line, we're gonna double click that, and it's gonna take us back to the beginning of the animation, right at the 0 frame where everything is restarted. And once you do that, your bone should be set to make their eye open wide. Now if we go up here to our transform bone tool, and then we click our smart bone and we drag it this way, as you can see his eyes opening up wide. And if you keep moving this bone, you can see it'll open wide, and now we want to make them blink. So let's start that same process, but we just gonna, the only thing we're gonna change is when we transform the bone, we're gonna move it the opposite way. So let's go back to the beginning, go over to our actions tab, hit new action again. Now it says wide blink 2. I would not change that. I usually just leave it exactly how it is. I usually do wide blink 1, wide blink 2. If I'm doing head turn, I do head turn 2. That's the way that it usually works. And usually when I change the name, the timeline will turn red and stuff kind of messes up. So I usually just leave it how it is. So let's hit OK. Let's drag it down to 72 on the timeline. Go to our transform bone tool and let's go the opposite direction. Now we are going to make this character blink. Let's go ahead and select our points. Okay, and then once you select your points and you make your character blink the way you want to, we're going to go back through the same process. We're going to make sure that we click our head layer, and then we're going to go back up to our actions, double click the main line, and now everything should be good to go. This character should be able to blink, and this character should be able to open their eyes up wide. And this is just one of the many steps that we're going to do to make this character be able to do a lot of different animations, and it's going to be able to go fast because we're using smart bones and we're not manually moving everything every single time. So let's go ahead and test it out. Eyes open up wide, and now we can make them blink. And then drag it back up just to put the eyes back at the normal size. And if you move this back and forth, now your character, your character can open your eyes and your character can blink. Next, we're going to be working on the character's mouth, and I'm going to show y'all how to put that in the switch layer so that you can make your character talk when you're animating. So hit me in the comments down below if you have any trouble. If it's anything specific y'all want me to teach y'all how to animate, let me know, and I'm going to get that going.